Hey guys, so today we're just going to be talking about a very interesting subject, I guess, somewhat. If you guys don't know, I really like using PCpartpicker. It's a very good website to build PCs, and I just wanted to demonstrate what would be my, you know, dream gaming PC this summer if I were to buy completely new parts. So let's go through the list. Firstly, let's just talk about what PCpartpicker is. Basically, PCpartpicker is a way to virtualize the components which you want to build in your PC. I used to use a pen and paper and just write it down, but I found that PCpartpicker is much more useful as, let's say you want to buy a component such as CPU, let's say. They basically have a very large database of the CPUs and also the prices of such CPUs, and I'm hoping that I can, there you go, make it bigger for you guys. So, and it also has a compatibility filter, which is very basic, but it basically helps you build a very powerful PC that should, in theory, work. Now, I don't, like, over the years, I have been using PCpartpicker less and less for all of my builds, because the biggest issue is that you can't get eBay prices or any kind of used prices, so you kind of have to look it up yourself, and then you can customize the price. So let's say I found a 2600 for a decent price. You press on this little button, the settings button, and you can manually enter the price. So that's what I do. So what would I build in 2021? Well, looking at used prices, I know that the i7 9700K is pretty decent in pricing and will probably drop down in price pretty quickly. But let's say I had a slightly larger budget, and I was looking to purchase a decently powerful build. Well, I'd be probably looking to get a 10 core, so either a i9 10850K, which overclocks pretty good. It has the only difference between a 10850K and like a 10900K is that the 900K is slightly better binned, and so that means that it needs less voltages for the same clock rate. Otherwise, a 3900X, the non-T of course, is not a bad chip, and if you're looking for more of a gaming build, then I would definitely be looking at the 10600K or the 9600K or 8600K if you can find a good deal, as these chips are still very competitive in today's standards. Now, I would buy an 8700K if you can find them cheap, but since they were a flagship chip, they will be a little more expensive than expected. So 9900K is also pretty good if you can find them, and anything with an F in it is automatically better. So if there was a 10850KF, I would purchase it over the 10900K, as it will probably definitely have better voltages than a 10900K, and the 10900KF is currently the best overclocking CPU, maybe other than Ryzen 5000 series, which has pretty decent overclocking, but I'm not quite sure exactly how good it is. Now, the reason why I'm not going with a Ryzen 5000 is because, well, the prices will probably on the used market won't probably drop anytime soon, and so that's kind of my logic there. So if I had all the money in the world and I was buying kind of like a refurbished computer, I'd be going with a 10850K. That's only if it's at a reasonable price, so a reasonable price would be like $400, $450, let's say. This is all in Canadian, as you've probably seen. CPU coolers, I'd be going for either a liquid cooler if I'm looking for like a quick build, or potentially a Noctua or even a Dark Rock Pro. So I'd probably go with the Dark Rock Pro, as it's currently probably the biggest and nicest cooler that you can buy for yourself. Although the D15 is definitely still a very good contender. And I'd probably be paying around the $100 mark, as I am definitely a cheap ass. So, in terms of motherboards, refurbished motherboards on the Z490 series, they're kind of still expensive, and they're probably not going to go down in price anytime soon. So it is definitely worth looking into. I definitely suggest looking at overclockers.net's overclocking, VRM's specs forum post, which is very useful to understand exactly what kind of VRMs you will be getting out of all of your motherboards. Now, which motherboard exactly would I be buying? Well, personally, I really like the price to performance of the let me just look it up here. So anything ATX, eATX is good for overclocking. Mini ITX is always also a decent contender for especially RAM overclocking, as they come with only 2 slots, and DDR4 really needs 2 slots to better overclock. So people have told me that the Tough Gaming is a good contender for overclocking, and no, I disagree. How much is the Tough? The Tough is 224. Okay, that's not bad, to be honest. I'm probably looking at the Z490E Gaming, which is surprisingly more expensive, but it does come with 3 full-fledged PCIe X16 slots, and the VRMs are very good, as well as other small features. This is a very good motherboard for the price point. And the other one that impressed me in terms of price to performance was the Z490 Unify, Mega Unify, which is a little more expensive. Also has 3 full-fledged PCIe X16 slots, but it has one of the best VRMs that you can buy. This is definitely a good motherboard. Just in general. Now, if I had all the budget in the world, I'd be probably looking into an Apex. The Apex is really cool. It's quite more expensive, but it has a lot of interesting stuff on it. The only issue is the new Apex is dropped significantly in terms of PCIe slots, and that kind of pisses me off, because I am definitely I am an overclocker, but I'm also a content maker, and I enjoy having decent slots. So I'm gonna go with the look at that, nothing Ace Rock this generation. The Dark is not really worth it anymore. I'm gonna go with the Apex, let's say. No, fuck it. Apex is not good enough. I think I'm gonna go with the, where is it? The Unify. Although I don't trust MSI that much. Here you go, the Unify. Next up is memory. So I want to fill up my slots, as I do believe dual rank dual channel on Z490, and any Intel consumer platform is definitely doable, and it's very good. So let's say I wanted to get the best RAM. Well, it's gonna have to be Samsung B die, and if it is Samsung B die, there's 2 choices which I've considered. The first one is the 3600 megahertz CAS16, and the timings should be relatively tight. Let me just look here. It's anywhere in that range, I believe. And yeah, I do believe it is Trident Z, the Neo kit or the RGB kit. They're basically the same. And yeah, so that is definitely a good kit. If you are looking to overclock a little better, or a little higher in terms of clock rates, maybe for some benchmarking purposes, or just because you like overclocking, I'd be going with the 3800 kit, which is also Trident Z RGB. Both of these kits are quite excellent, but let's say you're just trying to get a single kit of really decent RAM. So that's probably going to be in the 3600. and with a lower cast latency. Let's see what they got. And here it is. Oh, sorry, not this kit as this kit is apparently CJR RAM, Hynix CJR, which is apparently not very good in terms of overclocking. And you can tell because of the timings here, the second and third timings are really high, so that's not good. But the RAM is very cheap, so if you're just looking to run 3600, it's definitely worth it. But let's say for myself, oops, the cast latency here, I'd be buying, ugh, gross. What about Corsair? This is something I've always wondered. What about Corsair Vengeance? Sorry, not Vengeance, Ballistics Max. Ah, shit. Alright, well, looks like the 4x16 is not very good. So, let's go back to our 2x8 at 4000. Oh, wow. Right, because I'm in Corsair. Alright, so. Oh, Trident Z Royale at cast 17. Nope, this is bad. So don't get any Trident Z at cast 17. Trust me, it's not going to be B-die. Ballistics Max, what is this? C18 4000. This is good. Ballistics Max is definitely a B-die, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's a B-die. You can see it as the B is at the end there. Doesn't say the timing, but I assume it's not the... Oh yeah, it says right here, CL18. I assume it's very tight, CL18. So we're going to get a quantity of 2 here. Alright. This is a bit more expensive than earlier, but, you know, this is very good RAM, and it'll overclock quite well. If you're hitting like 4500 or maybe like 5000 if you're really lucky at CL18 or CL19. You can always buy like 3600 CL16, and then you could probably push it in the 3800 with the same timings, and that is definitely very good for dailying, so I suggest doing that. Let's actually put that in our build right this second. So we're gonna go back to the Trident Z kit, skill 3600 times 16 with a 16 cast latency should give us the RGB kit here. Right here should be this one, or I might be wrong. Let's see. No, that's not the one we want. Here you go. A little more expensive. Okay, that's the one we're looking for, if I'm not mistaken. Now, quick side note, if I did have all the money in the world for no reason, well, I'd probably buy the nicer Royale kits, but they're not necessarily timed better than these kits, so there's not really necessarily a point other than they look quite nice. Now, next is storage. So in terms of storage, well, I want to use my M.2 slots, so I'm going to go with probably some of the cheapest M.2s. But it does have to be NVMe, so I'd probably buy a 2 terabyte M.2 NVMe. So you see, it's quite easy to find these kits using the setup, and I've heard that the Saber and Rocket series is quite good, so I'm gonna get a 4 plus. Oh, no, I don't need that. Oh yeah, the Aorus NVMe apparently is quite good, but we're gonna get something cheaper. So I don't suggest buying Samsung anymore. Fuck. Not what I meant to do. Here. Okay. Saber and Rocket Q is apparently quite good for the price. I'm gonna go with the Saber and Rocket 4.0. Sounds like a good build. And I'm just gonna put a random mechanical hard drive just in case. I really like the Seagate Barracuda at 5400 RPM. This has a lot of cache, and so, you know, 4K transfer speeds is pretty good on it, but you won't be able to pass through like 200 gigabytes or more. Just make sure to, you know, to raid your setup or whatever to figure out a way to do that properly. Anyways, so next is the graphics card. So purchasing a new graphics card right now is a pain in the ass, as there's like literally literally hundreds of graphics cards which are just going for like ridiculous amounts of prices, and that's just because of the Bitcoin rise. So like your Vega 56 at like 2,300, that's pretty much what they're going for in retail for no reason. And yeah, there's not really much like with the new graphics cards either, and they're also going for really high prices. So what I suggest doing in this case is getting a used graphics card, as I usually suggest, and potentially going with a 2080 or 2080 Ti, or even a 1080 Ti if you can find some. Personally, I really like the 5700 XT, as it has FreeSync, and it's my preference in terms of just if I want to overclock it, it's easy and stuff like that. But let's say I wanted a bit more VRAM, which I am inclined to do, is right now I'm running at 8 gigabytes already. Then I would be getting an RX 6800 or 6800 XT. Either one is fine for me. And just based off of the cooler and what I've heard of the VRM recently, was Sapphire is good. I'm gonna go with Ace Rock. I really like Ace Rock overall. Like I've come to appreciate them in the last couple of years, and I'm gonna go with this one right here. Realistically, probably gonna get that one. So 16 gigabytes of VRAM. Yeah, it's not the fastest, but it's good enough, I guess. And I expect paying $700 for it. You'll see that this gaming computer is quite expensive. It's also quite wattage intensive, and so we're gonna get a good power supply just now. So in terms of power supplies, the Corsair RM series looks to be very, very promising. Not necessarily as cheap as other series, but definitely promising. So I'm gonna get one of these bad boys, and that should cover just about all the overclocking I'm gonna do on this motherboard. Next is case. Excuse me. And in terms of cases, I'm a bit picky, but I'm definitely gonna go like, I would definitely go with a cheap case if you don't really know what to buy. But since I kind of do know what I'm buying, I need a case with, I need it full tower, mid tower. I need it with, nothing glass, because I'm going to be moving a lot. I need it with a shroud potentially, and we're already seeing some good contenders, but they don't have prices. And finally, I need something with, USB 3, and also can fit EATX if it can. So let's see what we have here. Oh wow, this sounds promising for me, but I do want more USBs than necessary, and this is where I think the Cougar Panzer really pushes the envelope here, because it is one of those cases that actually has, oh, I can't really see it here, wait, Panzer Max, there you go. You can actually hold it quite well in your hand. You can put a keyboard on top. I mean, yeah, who would do that? But it's quite easy to open it up. It's very like robust. It looks like a case that would be able to handle like an explosion, which I think is why it's called a Panzer, which is a tank. But yeah, it's a very nice case. I can actually put my CD drives. I do CD drive stuff, and overall it's just a really nice case, I think, personally. So that's what I'm gonna buy. It is quite expensive, but what do you expect? I'm an expensive person, So that's about it. And then in terms of monitors, well, I'm not I'm not the pickiest, but I definitely need it to be um, something a bit bigger in the 20, whatever, 25-inch range is fine. And I do need a higher refresh rate than I have currently, which I'm running at 85 hertz on my ultra wide. Even though I don't really use it, it's definitely nice. And I do need some FreeSync. And finally, where is it? I need IPS. IPS is really, really nice to the eyes, in my opinion. I already put that on, so perfect. I didn't even realize I put it on. So if we look at the prices, I mean, $250, that's definitely really good at 27 inches. And I mean, it's only 1080p, but yeah, purchasing a 1440p monitor, it's maybe twice the price. So it might be worth it if you're looking into it. Let's just quickly push the... Okay, so yeah, this is like if I had all the money in the world, I'd buy a 4K 1440p monitor. And I mean, it doesn't, like, 27 inches is not really worth it for, a 4K monitor, but there's not really any choice considering if you want to get like a 34-inch, it's quite a bit more expensive. $1,000 is kind of the cheapest motherboards you could buy. Cheapest monitors, which is kind of stupid. Cheapest monitors that you can buy at 4K, which with high refresh rate. So it's nice that it's IPS as well, and it just kind of sucks that it's not bigger, I guess. Right now I'm currently running a 28-inch 4K, so it's a little bigger, and to be honest, I mean, it's good enough, but like a 29-inch, that's kind of where I like my 4K to be. And that's just based off of pixel per inches. If you don't know what pixel per inch is, well, look up Retina display, kind of educate yourself. But yeah, I'd buy like, I don't know, I'd buy like one of these easily. 27-inch 1440p, that's perfect basically. And so that's kind of what a build would look like for me if I had all the money in the world. And yeah, motherboards, you won't get them at good prices. RAM, it's not really worth buying used RAM. It's like new, if you're overclocking, because new DDR4 RAM dies are always better than older ones. You can't really cheap out on hard drives. I tried cheaping out on a graphics card, but getting anything 16 gigabytes of VRAM right now is kind of rough. So I'm just assuming something in that price, in that performance range would cost around that price. This I can't cheap out because I don't know where I'd buy one. This I can't cheap out because I'm gonna have the 100% lifespan of it. And finally, well, I don't think I'll find this specific monitor for that price, considering monitors are always way too expensive. So if I were to buy this computer around this summer, it would cost me this much. And this is kind of just a lesson. If you are building a computer and you're trying to get the best of the best, and you're trying to be able to overclock and stuff, well, sometimes even if you buy used, you're not going to get the best price ever. So always watch out in terms of gaming. And obviously I don't need all this. This is all like unnecessary, to be honest. Like if I bought for instance, if I bought a 9700K, which has 2 less processors, overclocks about the same, has less cache, but honestly cache per core with a 9700K is already pretty good. It would cost me around like $250. And then the motherboard, I could cheap out quite a bit. I could buy a Maximus 10 Apex, which, arguably overclocks better than that. And I could get, a decent amount of overclocking on a board and, be pretty happy. Now, I won't be running like dual rank necessarily, which really sucks, but the overclocking potential would really increase. And then I wouldn't buy two kits. This would basically be the same. Well, I already have a hard drive, but it'd be basically the same. And then if I cheaped out on my graphics card, I'd be able to drop off like $300 if I bought a RX 5700 XT. And although I'd have less VRAM, in terms of overclocking it and actually running it as a daily, well, it would be around the same performance as a 6800 or 6800 XT. If you're just talking about like pure FPS, well, it's still good enough, so it'd be basically the same to me. So if I did cheap out, I could save what? This would be 250, so $200 plus. If I bought a 10 Apex, it'd be around 300. So like, let's say $100. So 200, 300. I wouldn't have to pay this. So 350 plus 300, 650. Then here another. So I'd already be saving like over 1,000. If I cheaped out a little bit, and although my performance would be like decreased by maybe 20%, or well, less than that, I'm being kind of generous, 20%, well, my price is more than a third used, so more than 40%. So that's definitely something to consider. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed and have a good day.